Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I've got this Williams Pennant Fever pitch and bat game. I bought this thing working. It's been sitting in the back for several months. I say it was working. I don't know if everything's working. It boots up a blade. I would pitch a ball or hit a ball. That's about all I know. It's kind of dirty. Looks like it had I was just looking at it here. It looked like it had a ticket dispenser of some sort. Anyway, I guess I'll stand this thing up and see what's going on with this game. All right, so I got the game stood up here. First thing, this overlay is kind of beat up. I just looked online. I don't think anybody's making a reproduction. A lot of this will clean up. Probably just paint that green and call it good. The play field has quite a bit of wear up here at the top, and looks like almost mold also. But it's all one color, so hopefully Jen can touch that up all right. I don't know. So this is a weird game in the sense that it's a System 8 game. So they only made, Williams only made a couple of games with System 8. Somebody has taken the batteries off of it. Doesn't have batteries at the moment. Somebody's recapped the power supply. I don't see a date, but those are fairly modern. I mean, everything's super clean looking, so it looks like they took the board off, cleaned it, and recapped it. So that's probably okay. I don't know if those two have been fused, because Williams on these early Williams games, those two rectifiers are not adequately fused. I believe that would probably include the System 8s also. I've never worked on a System 8, so I'm not positive, but I bet that's probably the case, that those probably are supposed to be fused and they're not. Like I said, this thing, when I bought it, it boots and plays. I just plugged it in. I haven't turned it on yet. So if I can get this door to shut, well, close enough. Let's do our first smoke test. I'm gonna smoke test with the door open here, just so. And we're in audits, which is kind of what you'd expect since we don't have any batteries in there. So I should be able to flick the switch on and off real quick and get it to boot. There, I think it booted then. I don't see anything, no attract mode. Let's see if it credits up here. Well, we don't have any switches. Oh, there we go. No, the switches are absent. Or are they? No, they're there. Okay. Django, you're in my way here. Wow, sounds like a little baby fart. Okay. Let's see if it'll boot up. Where's the start button? There it is. All right. I think we're in, I guess it's like strikes. I don't know. Wow, that was 3 balls. I don't think that's quite right, but it's been upside down, hauling around. So let's see. Let's try a curve pitch. Wow, that was pretty curvy. Now that hit the single switch, but I don't know. Let's do a change up. Actually, I'm playing one player, so I don't think these, because you got different pitches. I think in single player, it just does a random pitch no matter what you do. I think it scored me on that one. It acted like it did. That was a triple, so that one it scored. Oh, I see. That was a single, so I only put it on one base. I don't think I've got any lights in the play field. And I'm pretty sure when I bought this thing, I believe it was, but I might be mistaken, but they would run around. So you can't tell who's on. When I saw that single, I thought it was like a run, but no, that just gets you to first base. Clearly. The bat is not necessarily going all the way back again. Trying to see if I can hit the this ramp to get up to the upper deck. I did once, but it was kind of a weak shot, and it didn't make it. Like then I hit it, but it wasn't hard enough to get up. So maybe the bat's not hitting very hard. So this must be the second inning. I don't know. Strikes and balls. I don't know. Or maybe there aren't balls. Maybe it's just strikes and outs. That's going to be a strike. Yeah, so the second number is strikes. That's going to be another foul strike. That was a triple, ran a couple of people in. Scoring a lot of points here. Yeah, late hit just gets you over that single. Or an early hit. Ooh. A little too late. It bounced and hit the out there. Well, the sound is really, I don't want to say tinny, I guess I'd say. I guess all the sound is on the MPU. That's what it looks like anyway. I don't see a soundboard. But it's kind of working, mostly. I don't have any lights down here. That's a big no-no. The bat is not always coming back home. And it seems like it hits hard if you hit it to the right field. The center, I guess it hits in the middle of the bat when you're going up the center, and it doesn't hit as hard, which kind of makes sense. But it needs to hit harder, be able to hit the ramp and get up the upper deck and do a home run, because that's like cool and stuff. So, and the rest of it's just, you look inside of it, it's like, I'd say the mice have been in here. Oh, there's back power right there. Probably already cranked up to 11. Yeah, it's cranked up to 11. So probably need to rebuild the, it's like a flipper mech in a little bit. Let's see the tilt bobs in there. I'm gonna pull the glass off and raise the playfield and get a look underneath. Well, this is a little bit of surprise. So you got like an arcade power supply in here, kind of halfway mounted. It's not connected to AC at the moment. Yeah, the bottom two are AC and only one wire is connected to anything, but it looks like, I don't know, that's going to something up in the head. I've got some professional wiring going on here. But it looks like this is hooked up to the ticket redemption thing, and there are some tickets. So I don't know. Those wires are going up to the head. I don't know what that's about. I'm gonna drop this back down and figure out where these. Yeah, so it's maybe that's the. I bet that's the signal for this redemption. and that's getting the power for it. That's what it looks like. I'm gonna try to track down, see where those come. Well, so I tracked those two little red wires. They're coming underneath there, and then they're going in that hole there, which is to the back of the upper stands. Oh shoot, got this whole thing falling apart on me now. So it's, I can't see where, oh, there it is right there. I think that's the two wires right there. Coming in right there. Wow. What in the hell? I have to take all this off to get the, I don't, wow. Well, those all work. Yeah, I think that's the wires. That's weird. I guess I'll dig into this a little more and take this bracket off and see if I can figure out where that wire's going. It's kind of bizarre. I've got this bracket off only to find out that the red wire just goes down in there, so I've got to take that bracket and that bracket off so I can yank this thing out and then kind of see what's going on. Well, I think I figured out what's going on. So I don't know if this would have been factory or this is jerry-rigged. Maybe it's factory. But so basically these are the switches that score the home runs, because this is all upside down, but basically this is the upper deck and the ball has to roll through either one of these three holes. So when it hits like that, it closes that switch and it scores a home run through the MPU. But they've got these other switches, another switch here in parallel that is also gets closed. So it's another switch that's wired up physically in parallel. And all three of these, so each one of these switches has another switch. And this red switch is down to the ticket redemption. So the ticket redemption is not using the MPU, it's just using these other switches. So it's got like a, I don't know, a 5 volt or a 12 volt signal, and that one is maladjusted because it's always closed. I don't think I'm going to use a ticket redemption. This is, yeah, I've kind of alluded to it. This is my game, and I'm probably going to put it on route, and I don't have anything to do with tickets. I don't do anything with ticket redemption or anything like that. So I'm probably just going to disconnect this, but I was just wondering what the heck. I figured that was going up to the MPU or something, but no. And given the fact that this is a, well, maybe it's not factory. That could have been like an add-on somebody added. I don't know. I have to look at some pictures of it, of the game. See if the pictures online, any of them have this window for the ticket redemption. This could be like an aftermarket thing somebody added, because it's kind of, I would say, yeah. And see, like that's a wood, just like a regular wood screw. That does not belong there. That's not the same kind of screw as that one. So kind of butchered the way they've done it. It's not very slick. If Williams would have done it, they probably would have used the MPU to send a signal down to that. I don't know. I'm gonna look online, see if I can find some pictures real quick. Well, here's some pictures on from Pinside. The flyer definitely doesn't have that little, oh Django, you're in my way. Doesn't have that door. And the other pictures on here, like that one doesn't either. So I can go to IPDB and get some more pictures. So here's some more pictures on IPDB, like that one there. None of the pictures I've seen online. There's another one there, a different one that's a prototype. Have that, the coin, or not the coin door, but the ticket door. So I'm thinking that was an add-on that somebody did for this particular game. And by the way, they only made like 800 of these games, so it's a pretty rare bird. Anyway, I think I'm gonna get back to the game and get going through it. All right, so I put that all back together, kind of cleaned it up on the way, adjusted some of those switches in there that made these a little bit more sensitive. I just went ahead, so most of these were LED, but about a third of them weren't. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into the lamp test and see if they're working. Well, I think I went and switched right into audits. Let me reboot it here. Okay, that's clearly displays. That's a sound test. I don't know what this is. Maybe we don't have any controlled lamps. Maybe that's what's going on. This is a solenoid test. That's nothing. So 1 and 3 didn't do anything. So maybe I'll get the manual out, or maybe start checking some fuses and see if I got a blown fuse for the controlled lights. So I'll get the manual up here. It should be the display test, then the sound test, and then the lamp test, and then the solenoid. So we went to this lamp test and it wasn't lamping. So I'm guessing we've got a bad fuse or something blew the fuse, so who knows. But we got no controlled lights, I believe. And I want to say that it had them when I bought it, but I don't know. I didn't look at it real closely. Checked on my fuses, and it's this fuse here that's for the lamps, control lamps, and it's good. I'm not getting, I should have 18 volts right here. I don't. Measured the voltage on the controls, on the powered side of all these controlled lamps. I didn't have the, the 6 volts or whatever. So I figured it's going to be one of these two rectifiers that rectifies the voltage. And this one here is testing bad. So I just use a diode test between, say, that one and the two diagonal to it, and the other, that one there and the two diagonal to it, and it's not measuring between like 0.4 and 0.7. The bottom one is. I think the bottom one's probably the solenoid voltage. So I'm going to yank this thing out of here and swap it out, and I'll test it on the bench so I can show you how, if it's still wrong on the bench, and I bet it is. All this was going to come off easy because I had spade connectors, but it's been soldered also. So it's like, what's the point of a spade connector if you're going to solder it? I like the solder connection, but if I'm going to solder it, I'm not going to put a spade connector on first, because that's just like, it's just another crimp. Just solder the wire to it. I don't get it. All right, so I hope this is bad because I got it snipped off of here. So the oddball is the negative, I think, or it's a positive. So I think you put the negative on the positive and then the two adjacent to it. Yep, it's shorted. Yeah, that should be 0.4 to 0.6. So this side is open, which is wrong, and that's shorted, which is wrong. So let's see if the other, so that's correct there, 0.5 and 0.5. So basically there's a diode from here to here and here to here, and then one from here to here and here to here. So that diode's shorted and this diode's open, so that's trash. So that's a good thing. So I can swap in a new rectifier, $3 or $4, and a few minutes to solder it in there, and hopefully we'll get our lamps going. So while I'm here on the bench, I'm going to go ahead and load this sucker up with plenty of solder. That'll be a lot easier to do here than in the back of a machine. Probably need to crank my iron up like to 11 at least. A lot of metal to heat up. Ah, I dumped it before it hardened up. Let that cool a second. And one more. Then I'll tin those wires and just, that way I had a wire in one hand and the soldering iron in the other, because you don't have a third hand for this hold the solder. So I got that soldered back on there. I put a little heat sink on there, heat sink compound, and I'm gonna screw that back in there and we'll boot it up and see if we got any controlled lights, or maybe it'll fry immediately. Okay, so I got that dude mounted, do a smoke test. Well, the fuse didn't blow. Probably got to do a quick reboot here. All right. And, oh, I might already see. Yep, we got lights. We got lights there. We got lights here. So cool. All right. One down. Probably several more to go. So I've verified that every one of my controlled lights is cranking along. So I'm gonna pull both these boards. I just noticed here that somebody's done a great job repinning that connector. So I guess what people do is, like, they got a bad connector, so they'll go pull a connector off another game, and instead of repinning it, well, like on this one you can't really, because it's an IDC. Instead of buying the right connector and repinning it, they just, you know, do this number. And it's apparently working, but you know, I don't like that. So I'm gonna swap that out. I always ask myself, like, this is all done super nice, and then you see this nonsense. It's like, probably this board got shipped out to somebody that did it, and this was done in-house. Anyway, I'm also gonna pull this board. It's good they got the batteries off of here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a coin cell battery on there, get rid of this, and just look at all the header pins on the back side of this board. Check it out, and then put it back in, and probably it won't work. Well, I'm glad I pulled the board. See, like, that header pin right there is pretty much loose. Yeah. Some of them are bad, some of them are real bad, some of them are not so bad. But I'm gonna hit them all real quick, and I'm gonna put a little coin cell battery in for this nonsense, and that'll be a little bit nicer instead of having the batteries in the back box. So even if they're not on the board, just if they go bad, it's just like the noxious fumes, like, it'll gray all the exposed metal. It's not as bad as having it on the board, but it's still not great. Just get a few of these here real quick. These take a little extra heat because they're basically on the ground strap. And see, these three are attached together, so it's fine to let them flow together. Like that one there was broken free. This one is standalone, so it does not want to touch, that should not touch anything else. So you just kind of gotta keep an eye on everything. If you're concerned about it, after the fact, you can go through and get the multimeter and measure continuity and make sure that they're not touching where they shouldn't be. Sometimes it'll look like that one almost looks like they're touching, but that's just a little flux in between. Y'all can't see anything while I'm doing. Get my hand in the way. All right, so I'm gonna just keep going after that. So I got all the header pins reflowed. I put this coin cell on there. So that says positive, that little arm. So it's going to the center terminal. That side there is going right there, which you see that trace goes to the perimeter of the board. So that's negative. The other one's going to there, which follows her to here. And then I've got a jumper from here over to here, which is the positive side. That's the 5 volt going out, or the 3 volts. Because this originally had alkaline batteries on there, I can just switch it with another battery. I don't have to put a diode because there's basically a diode built into the board. So this is ready to go back in the game, and hopefully it will still work. All right, so I got the board back in the game. Do a smoke test here. It should go into audit because it's the first time with the new battery. It's in audit, so I should be able to turn it off and turn it on, and then it should boot up. I'm purposely letting the 5 volts die down so it doesn't do it. Yep, it booted up. Coolio. All right, so I guess I'll pull this. I'm gonna have to go through this, and I probably ought to put fuses for those two, that's gonna be a pain getting in there. I should have done that one while I had it out. Yeah. So we got this power supply out. It all looks good. It had been reflown. I tried to find a date on these caps. Couldn't find any. That means they're fairly new because they don't put dates on the new stuff, I guess. I'm figuring the reason they don't is because so when you order them, you don't say, oh, this thing's 3 years old. I want a brand new one. Anyway, I did find this note out Dorman, Pennant Fever, no 12 volt TP2. I think they're talking about this test point here. So probably this thing went out to be serviced at some point, and that's when they probably fixed no TP2. Oh, I wonder if this thing got shipped out, they fixed the power supply because TP2, I wonder if that is the same one I just fixed with the rectifier. I'm interested. I may look that up real quick. No, that was a different issue. There's TP2 there. It's related to this bridge rectifier right here. So, nope, that was a different problem. But it does speak to the issue of sometimes people take a board out and ship it off, and it's like, doesn't fix a problem. It's because, like, you know, not all your problems are on the board. A lot of them can be either on the play field or like on this last one was just the bridge rectifier that are just mounted to the back box. So anyway, I'll throw this back in the game, and yeah, I haven't done anything, just wasted time on this one. All right, so wasted time is pretty strong. Insurance, that's what I'd say, because I'm going to probably put this in a bar, and going through this now is a lot easier to do it than reflow solder on the back of a bar stool. So I'm going to repin this. I'm just looking to see if I've got enough. Yeah, I've got enough slack. So it looks like I need a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pin connector. So my 9 pin connector, I got my plug in there. It's going to go just like that. So just got to get on my tools, and so I only have to repin 8 of them, or maybe not even 8. I'm not even sure if it's fully populated. Yeah, there's 8. Huh, that's kind of weird. That one just got snipped off. That's on the where that dead end goes. Yeah, well, shoot, this was off some other random connector. It wasn't even a 9 pin. Somebody shaved it. So I'll do one at a time so I don't get them mixed up. So this brown one, I'll put it in first, and it goes all the way on the end. So got my power slide back in there. Boot came up. Everything's good. I'm going to go ahead and put the 2 fuses in for these 2 rectifiers. I disconnected this, gave myself a little bit more play, and took off a bunch of little zip ties. So on the top one, the 2 blue wires are the 2 AC wires. That's the power coming in. So it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to take this one here just because it's closer, and I'm going to cut it and basically put a fuse essentially between my 2 fingers there. So one end is going to have to be curled around about like that. So I got to give myself a little slack. So I put the fuse kind of there, and then it's going to get tight. I don't have a lot of room to work with. And on the other bottom one, the 2 red wires are the AC wires. And again, it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to get the one there on the left and do the same thing. I got to cut it so I've got enough room to pull it down and mount the fuse holder to the back box there. So I hate doing this kind of stuff. So I got my 2 fuses in there. Instead of cutting wires, this blue one, that was one of the AC wires that went up to here. It was where that red one is there. I desoldered this one that I had just put on there, ran it through the fuse, and then added a little jumper wire to there. And I did the same thing down here on this one down here. These still had the clips on there, so I snipped it off. And the original red wire is that one there, goes to the fuse, and this jumper goes back to where the other original one was. So the reds are still diagonal. I should have used blue wire here, but I didn't have any blue wire, so I used red wire. Anyway, if I've got it wired up, it'll boot up, and if not, it'll burn catastrophically. But it's fused, so it won't. It'll just burn the fuse. Well, it's not. No GI lights. Or, sorry, no controlled lights. So something is wrong. I've done something wrong. Well, shoot. Let's see if the solenoids are working. I have to queue up a game here. Actually, I don't have the switches in here. Let me just go through the solenoid test. How about that? I think that's the lamp test. Oh, what have I done? Yeah, great. Let me check my work. I ain't got no gas. Okay, that was a good problem to have. See if that fixes it. Okay, yeah. It's like, geez, I looked at it 3 times. It's like, it looks right. It was right. Gotta plug stuff back in. Maybe I'll get some zip ties and re-zip tie this up a little bit. Just to kind of tidy it up. Well, I got the playfield picked up here. Trough's got a little beat up here. The motor here looks pretty clean. Nothing out of the ordinary there. A little relay going there, I'm not sure. Probably the relay for the motor. It's all LED'd. And then there's the bat. I mean, no wonder it's not going back and forth. It's just like greasy, nasty. I'm taking the whole thing and I'm soaking it. It's taking a bath in the old ultrasonic. Oh, and then there's these. Not exactly sure why they just didn't solder it. I guess they don't solder, but they had a nice crimp tool. So anyway, and then there's all this kind of nonsense where those are just like almost touching. It's like makes me very nervous. That's just almost as short all the time. That's a little bit better. And on this other side, it's even worse. This here, I already bent that diode back because it was just like almost touching. And then you've got the power rail here. It's just like, and if that was actually jammed in there, I'm gonna turn the game off here real quick. Those should be down like that in the holes, and then this hits. So I'm not sure why that's like that. This piece here should rotate, which would give us a little bit more room like that. Actually, that solves the problem. Yeah, just rotating that whole head. And these should all be inside, kind of inside the hole, so it's nice and bright. Anyway, so I think what I'll do is yank this sucker completely off there and just douse that whole, just take the coil off there and douse the rest of it. So you got this part, you see how nasty greasy that is, and that is an interesting coil stop. But now this, that sleeve is so mangled. This piece here won't come off, or is that a? Yeah, it's just beat up. So I'm gonna have to get some, I don't know, maybe a pick or something, bend that. It's a brass liner, so it's probably fairly ductile. Maybe I can get it off of there. Eat up, little buddy. I'll let that run full 10 or 12 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Now the issue is removing this coil sleeve, I should say. I don't have a big tool. I got a small tool. I don't have a big tool. I don't know if I can get that out of there. I'll just beat on it with a hammer and see what happens. So this is my coil removal tool, but no count. So I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Maybe I'll go back and forth a few times. Probably gonna end up buying a new coil is what I'm thinking. I think it's already pulling apart, because that went in further than this came out. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I guess a needle nose or something, yank on it. All I can do is tear it up. Ah! I can also chop my finger in two. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. I need something the right diameter that I can beat in there. I might have one of those coil sleeves, I should say. Well, I did find a coil sleeve, the right diameter. I think it is. No, it goes inside. So it's not the right diameter. Anyway, I dig around and say I might just try to get a screwdriver and just collapse that on the inside. I don't think that's going to happen. New coil sleeve it is. Actually, I did make a little progress. It's higher than it was. That's definitely higher. I've almost got enough I can get a pair of pliers on there. I feel the whole thing, it's not really twisting where I want it to twist. I'm just wasting time at this point. H23 870. I bet Steve's got one of them. If he doesn't, he'll make one for me. Well, while the batting mechanism is cooking, I was looking at this. It's like, that looks like there's a light back there. So I open it up, and sure enough, there is. And the bulb just fell out. So it was not in the fitting here. I'm going to put it in here real quick. And maybe it lights up. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I can get it in there. I think that's in. And by the way, I just got through yanking all that arcade power supply and just kind of trimming up some of the wires. Oh, it is gonna work. Awesome. Yeah, it was just not. The bulb had fallen out. When I pulled this out, the bulb fell. I'm lucky it didn't break. I was just looking. I was gonna put this ground somewhere, and doing something. I was like, oh, there's AC coming up here. It's like there's probably a big bulb, and sure enough, yeah. Well, that's cool. So I still gotta ground this out somewhere. I think I'll stick it right. Okay, well, I'm gonna get rid of these damn pivots. Anyway, stick that right there, and we can have that good. So I went and grounded that right to that grounding strap. And these tickets, looks like this thing was down in Texas at some point. Texas Fruits and Bells. Does that mean anything to anybody? I don't know. I saw there was I thought there was, maybe that was a different game. I thought there was a South Carolina sticker on here. A lot of the games I see have South Carolina stickers on there. Well, so I'm going to be on an impasse for a little bit till I get a new coil. And there's a little rubber piece that swings, and it's a little rubber grommet type thing. I may need to get a new one of those. And as far as I know, after that, I may be mostly done with this game. That bell, I don't know if I've heard that bell ding. Should be able to go on a solenoid test and see if that goes. Maybe I'll try that here in a second. Well, so I went through the solenoid test and it never belled, never rang. So it's solenoid number 2, the bell, never heard it. So I guess I'll start by checking the coil and seeing if it's got continuity. Then maybe I'll ground out that transistor Q48 and see if that makes it ding. Well, I haven't fixed anything yet, but I think I figured out the source of the problem. So I started by measuring continuity across the 2 leads right here. They got like 20 ohms or something like that. Seems reasonable. And then I measured between the 2 wires, this gray one and the red one. And that requires it to go through that switch. That's a normally closed switch, and it was open. So I believe that switch contact is just dirty, and that's why it's not operating. So I'm gonna clean that switch and give it another go. All right, so I got that switch clean. I'll put it in. Next one should do it. There it goes. That was it, number 2, the ding bell dinged. All right, so just waiting for parts to clean, and yeah. Anyway, we'll keep moving on. So while some of the other stuff is cooking, I am going to try scrubbing a little of this with some Novus 2. See how much of it's missing paint and how much of it is topical dirt. A lot of dirt. A lot of missing paint. But there is like a kind of a mold on this thing. It's coming up very easily though. So that's good. Just some, I think it's limited to just the green touch-ups. I mean, if you wanted to, you could touch up his jersey, but not really necessary. And the rest of the playfield's pretty good. Flap's missing a little paint there, but eh. Well, I'm gonna keep scrubbing away here. So let's see how this dude turned out. I think it's clean. Stayed a little too long, kind of discolored. Sometimes it does that. Let me wipe it off with a rag real quick, kind of get some of the residue off. Well, it's pretty far cleaned up. I did realize this piece here has a whole lot of play that's tightened with this. Very sloppy. So I'm gonna see. I don't know. See if I can tighten that up. I may have to take that screw out, then tighten the nut, then put the screw back on. That's weird. When I pull it out, it's just a little wood screw, and very short one at that. Like there's hardly anything holding it. That doesn't seem right to me. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. So it should be. I don't think that was doing anything really. I don't know. Let me get the. Maybe I'll tear this thing apart. So that's supposed to be pressed in, and it's. So that was just some kind of bullshit right there, I think. Just probably have to take that home and just weld that. I don't think this needs to. Nah, that doesn't need to turn. But it needs to not be wobbly like that. There's a blow up diagram in the manual. I was skimming through it and I saw it. I'm gonna find it. So here's the exploded diagram. There's that post, and there's nothing underneath attaching it. So it was originally pressed on, or maybe it was tacked in. It was probably just pressed in. But I may take this home and hit it with the MIG. It'll be ugly, but nobody will ever see it. And that's those two little rubber pieces I need. So 23, 63, 12. And I got the control pit looking quite a bit better. It had gunk all over. It had a bunch of like sticky, gunky, like tape stuff. And then these little bolt heads, these carriage bolts, they were just solid brown rust, and I just got after them with steel wool and just, and without having to even take them off. So they look, they're not like shiny chrome, but they're kind of shiny. Definitely a lot better. What am I supposed to do about that? I may paint that green. I don't know, or leave it. I don't know. Either way, it's okay. It's not nasty anymore. Really wanting to split all the way down there at that bend. I looked online. I don't think anybody makes one of these, because like I said, there was only 800 and something of these made, and by this point there's not very many of them floating around, so not much demand for an overlay. Well, I've done about all I can do with this one until I get some parts in, so I'm gonna throw this in the back and pull out something else. But for y'all, I'm gonna have parts in about like 3, 2, 1. Are you ready for it, Django? Are you ready? Here it is. All right, I'm in my garage. I'm fixing to weld this thing up here. I got a brush. I'm just gonna scrub that, try to get it clean. And then I've got a little 110 volt MIG welder, and I'm gonna try to See what I can do with that. Oh, that was my first spatter, just practicing. There's my second one, there's my third one. I kind of got a run going, so I just playing around with the voltage and the wire feed speed. So I'm gonna try to get in here. I'm gonna not try to film and do it at the same time. I'm bad enough as it is. Well, it's ugly. It was glowing red hot. I think it's stuck. It's pretty much straight. I think that'll do. I could clean that up if I wanted to. I guess I want to. I'll knock a little of those things off. I don't know. Nobody's ever gonna see it except for me and all y'all. All right, so I got the parts in for the bat mechanism. I got these two little rubber bushings. Replace those brown ones. And a new coil. So I'm gonna throw this thing back together, throw it in the game, and see what happens. So somebody has tightened the spring up. Kind of a different kind of way to do that. So it's kind of nice because it's very temporary. May not need that anymore. I'm hoping I can just snip that off and that spring will be right. Now that it's not all gunked up with grease. So we'll see. So I've got this together and it moves nice and freely even after, well, even after removing that tensioner on the spring. But one thing I noticed is that bolt, and I'm sure that's not stock, that's going through there, it hits that coil sleeve, and that's actually acting as a coil stop. That's probably why that coil stop was all bent up, and it's liable to jam that into the plunger and cause friction. That could be the downward spiral of the last one. So unfortunately, I'm gonna take this back apart and swap out this bolt with something else that doesn't have a mushroom head or whatever that's called, carriage head, whatever. I don't know what it is, but something's doesn't have that wide of a base, so it doesn't hit the coil sleeve. I couldn't find a new bolt, but so I just took that to the bench grinder and ground it down a little bit, and now it doesn't hit that sleeve. The coil stops. It is a lot of extra weight to be accelerating, you know. So that's gonna slow down the bat a little bit. The rest of this is pretty decent. There's a little bit of slop, and almost all of it is this pin here going through this little piece of metal here, because, well, I need two hands to show you, but basically this pin here can rotate in this axis in that pin, because that, you know, it's not very thick. So if it gets watered out a little bit, that can rotate, and that offers some slop. So the thing to do would be to just fabricate that piece of metal there. But I'm not gonna do that. It's not real sloppy. In any case, I'm gonna throw this back in there and see how well it works. It's definitely quite free. So I think it's gonna work pretty well. Already got that mech thrown back in there, soldered up. I got the bat installed on the other side. So I think we're ready to play some ball. Oh, I gotta get the control panel installed here so we can pitch and bat. All right. So you got this thing thrown in here. I don't think I've shown y'all where Jane painted it up. She was pretty disappointed that, you know, there was all those dark spots were bare. When she clear coated it with some Varathane, it made a lot of times it does that. It takes the colors and it makes them darker. So, you know, it's got some dark patches, but I'll tell you what, it's a world better than what it was. If y'all remember, now it's shiny, and, you know, stand back from here, you really can't hardly even notice it. So this thing's looking pretty good. I think I'll have her touch up this here too, you know, but it's already a ton better. So I think we got a credit on here, maybe. I'm not sure. I guess we do. Let's try to pitch. Apparently when you flip the playfield up, all the balls run in there. So let's try this again. That didn't seem like it hit very hard. Wow, that did. I want to hit a home run. course, everybody does, right? I guess if I didn't suck so much. Oh, I did it. I did it. First time I hit the ramp, it's up. So I'm kind of call that success. It barely made it though. Wow, that was, I guess that was a change up. Let's try and do it again. Okay, I'm out. Yeah, I can see what these are. Innings, strikes, and outs. No balls. So that did not go up. It hit and hit right there. See if I've still got this thing cranked up to 11. I do. The one that made it was just kind of barely made it. I wouldn't say it was like a, it's not like it was close to hitting the glass or anything. I'll ring the bell because the game's over, okay? Try this again. Yeah, basically, when you're hitting these things come over here and into the bat, man, it slings it. Well, yeah, can't fix that. Maybe I need to hit a fastball to get it up there. Maybe I need to hit the ball to get it up there. I just noticed I can see the players on the field now. I've got a guy on second. Kind of good thing I made those things extra sensitive so I get out even when I don't get in there. So, oh, I see. Right field home run scores double with light. Right field home. Oh, right field home run. Okay. So that's like a special deal because you don't have anybody on base, but they're giving you an extra run. I guess, is that what's going on? So, yeah. So not only do you want to get a home run, you want to get a right field home run. Well, that's kind of cool. I think that's what that says. I don't know. Yeah. So that was a pretty square shot. And it did not make it up. I kind of want to grab the ball and throw it in the right field home run and see if it gives me a double. And the other thing I might toy with is this whole thing. It's like, I was noticing this earlier, it's kind of janky. So you get, you know, there might be some ball hop, which is not making it, it's not making a smooth transition. So that one, I saw that one, see it like, it popped up like this and came down. It just like went up. So I think it's bumping up on here and then hitting that and then coming up. So I think I'll monkey with this ramp. I think the bat's good. This is the bottom side of the play field. And this is the ramp. So if I push these up, it's going to get that closer to close that gap. You can see the gap is increasing on the right side. So this side definitely needs to go up. So I'm going to loosen that little screw there and see if I can get this thing to go up a little bit. So I had to take off this little ball return guide so I could get to that little screw. And it's pretty hard, but I basically bent that from the bottom, just jammed it up with my nut driver. And I'm going to put some pressure on there as I screw that in there. Probably put a wooden dowel in there, aka toothpick, and some glue on both of these and get those all the way flush. And then I may get a rubber mallet or a soft mallet and beat that thing flush on the top. So I couldn't get it just the way I like, so I took it off. With this, so it's sitting like that. And with this pushed all the way up, basically the screw is hitting the bottom of that. So these slots are not quite as long as I'd like them. So I'm gonna cut those slots just a little bit so I can get this jammed up a little further, which will bring this edge a little closer up that way and fill that gap. So I was looking at this a little bit more. So that point there is a little too high on the play field, and it's not far enough back that way. So I believe if I bend that piece there back and then put this back to horizontal, so kind of make it more of a Z instead of perpendicular, bend this one back and then bend that, I think that will solve two problems at once and I won't have to cut it. So that's what I'm going to try. Okay, so I accomplished my goal. Whether that fixes anything, yet to be seen. We're going to find out here in a moment. I'm going to put it back in there and shoot a few balls. So I have pretty much closed up that gap, but it's sticking up a little bit, like, I don't know, 1.5 millimeters here, maybe 1 millimeter here. So I think I'm just going to beat it down with a hammer. That's my plan. All right, that worked well. So I just got this and just tap, 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 tap with a hammer on the top of this. Tap, 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 tap. And it's actually just very slightly recessed, which is okay. So that ball's gonna, that way, just like a flipper, where it rolls across the flipper gap, the flipper could be a little bit below it. The ball's gonna wanna fall. And then it'll get back on track and woof. So I just gotta find the screw that I lost there and screw that down, and then we're ready to shoot some more balls. So I just noticed that this bat power control thing, this is just hanging down here. It doesn't quite look right. I'm gonna maybe pull this apart, pull this cover off and see what I can see inside of there. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm not sure what I'm looking at. I mean, I know what this is. It's like a big rheostat, and you know, so there's a lot of wires in there, and this is changing how many of those it has to go through, change it just like a normal rheostat. This thing here, I have no idea what that is. So, and the wires are going through here, but here's the weird thing. Okay, so the white wire's coming in here. It's coming in here, going through the wires, and it's getting tapped off here and probably coming out this center tap and coming out. And there's the electrode, and it's cut off, and it's just wired up to this. But that, I don't believe, is electrically connected to anything. It's just, but it's, and yet, so the black wire runs over here and goes to the coil. So how is the electricity getting from here to here? It's just a hose clamp or stuck on there or something. I'm obviously not seeing something. I'm gonna get the multimeter out and try to figure this out, because there couldn't be any resistance between here and here, or not very much. I don't know. Somebody, one of y'all probably looking at it knows exactly what this is, but I don't. Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna get the multimeter and try to figure it out. All right, so I got my multimeter here. It says 6 ohms, so I'm going from the input here to the output, and I've got my rheostat, it's cranked up to 11. So basically, a rheostat, actually, I've measured this. I've measured from here, the two electrodes on here, input and output of that, and it's at 0. I'm measuring right at about 6 ohms here. If I measure down here on the actual electrode, it's 5, which is kind of weird. And I know you can barely see it. I don't know if you can with the light, but it says 5 ohms on here. So this is just a real high power resistor. How it's connected through the side here, I have no idea. Well, I don't get that at all, but it is. And but it's kind of a janky ass connection. I mean, it's just a little spade connector that's jammed with a nut. That's not right for sure. My question is whether this whole thing is an add-on. I don't know why anybody would add it on, but I can't imagine Williams having this thing hanging out like that. You know, it doesn't make any sense. So what I'm gonna do I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna put this wire up here. I think that's probably the way it was factory. I don't know. I looked in the manual. They don't show us this in the schematics, but that's what I'm gonna do. And if it shoots too hard, because I'll be reducing a whole 5 or 6 ohms out of the system, so that's considerable. I don't know what the resistance is of that coil. I guess I can measure it real quick, but that could power it up quite. So if this is like, say if this is 6 and I'm removing another 6, so it would have had 12 and going down to 6, it doubles the power basically, roughly. So that might be way too much, but in any case, I'm getting rid of this nonsense. Okay, well this explains something. So basically this is just a wound wire, and it's essentially the bare wires are revealed on this back side, so that intercepts it. So that, okay, that makes sense now. So that's how that was working. But in any case, that surely isn't the factory way anybody did any of this at Williams. I can't believe it. So I'm gonna give myself some slack, and I'm gonna solder that right up. Okay, so I moved that wire over there. I got rid of that 5 or 6 ohm resistor. It said it was 5, but it was measuring 6. I measured this one. This one's only 5 ohms. So this, having taken this down from essentially making it a 12 or a 10 ohm down to 5, that doubles the power. So I have turned this thing all the way down to low power. So now I've got 20, but I can turn it up. So if I go all the way to the other side, I'm basically at 0 or half an ohm. 0.2, that's off by 0.2. So if I put it up to 5, I'm basically where I was before. So that's kind of where I was before, maybe a 10% boost. But now I can turn it up if I want to, or turn it down if I want to. I guess if I turn it all the way down, maybe I'll fry my coil, but you know, it is a fused. It's 5 amps low below, so probably not. If it does, it does. If I blow the coil, I'm not too worried about that either. So that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe somebody's got one of these things and knows, but that does not look like something Williams did. Or maybe Williams had it on the whole thing, so you couldn't turn it all too far up, and then somebody put this clamp to reduce it a little bit, to slide it down. But I don't know. I don't think so. I think this whole deal was added on. Maybe an operator did it so that it was in a place. I'm just making stuff up because I don't know. I could just try to envision what would happen. The operator has this thing someplace, and he doesn't want the venue cranking the bat's power up too high, so he puts it on there so you can't turn it up to 11. You can only turn it up to about 3, and save the machine from getting blown up and beating up all the targets and everything. So anyway, that's my hypothesis. So I got this put back together. I did pitch a few bats off camera, and it's doing way better. So some combination of having a little bit more power on the bat, but I think mostly it's just this is smooth and it's just jumping up better. So I'm gonna start a 2-player game so I can control the pitches and I can actually see what they're doing. I assume that's a 2-player. I hit it twice. It won't let me go again. Okay, so I should be able to control it. So I'm gonna start with a fast pitch. Wasn't super fast. Okay, I'll try a curve here. Well, that was very curvy. I'll do another curve. Oh, right. Okay, I'll do a change up. That was pretty changed up. I'll do another change up. That was extremely changed up. Back to the fast. Okay, so that's what it was doing before. I've got it a little bit lower on the left, on the right than the left. And that one was kind of on the left side. I think it's preemptively hitting a little bit of a lip here, and then jumping there and hitting that, and then popping up. I'm gonna hit it 4 more times, see what happens.
Gotta actually hit the ball. So that was just right of center, and that was perfect. And I've got the rheostat turned down about 12 o'clock. So I've got quite a bit more power I can turn on. Another thing about the bat, the manual talks about several, it specifically points out different places to place, you can place a little oil. I'm keeping mine dry until such time that I have to oil it. The problem is when you oil it, the oil is going to migrate, and eventually it's going to get up into the coil sleeve and gum up. So until I have to oil it, I'm not going to oil it. Wow. So that would have hit the glass, because that popped up to here and then fell down. So it would have hit the glass on the way. Not going to break the glass of the ball, but so I might turn this down just a little bit. We'll see. I haven't played. That's the first time I've seen that. But I played about this much before off camera, and that's the first time I don't have the glass in. The first time I would have hit the glass. It would help if I could actually hit the ramp. It looks like it's so easy. I'm just doing the fast pitch again and again. So that again, that wouldn't hit up here. So I might turn this down a little bit. That was just about perfect. I don't know why it made that extra sound. Maybe that was just a home run, but it did. I don't think it does that every time I did the home run. I don't know. Maybe it's because I had this lit and I hit there. Maybe that was, it gave me an extra run. So that was just left of center, and it popped up like that. So I'm gonna beat this thing down a little bit with that. Get that a little smoother. That was just a weak hit. Again, that was just left of center, and it pops up like that. If I say left of center, I'm talking about left of the center of the ramp. Almost like there's a bulge right there. Strike! That was dead center. Well, that was dead center, didn't you make it up? That was like perfect. Wow. That was a fastball, but it came out really sideways and outside the range of the bat. I'm gonna do a curve here. If the curve comes in on you, that would have hit the glass. Got more of a half inning. I'm gonna do some change-ups here. Maybe the change-ups I could actually hit the ramp. Maybe not. Not quite enough. So sometimes it's not enough juice, sometimes it's a little too much. It hits the glass. So I think I'm probably about where I want to be. That was a little much. There's a fair amount of variation. I'm not sure what the cause of that is, actually. It definitely works better to the right. I know it shoots harder to the right anyway, so maybe that's part of it also. That barely made it up. I think so. I've been doing the change up for the last 10 or 15 pitches. I think the change up, the slower pitch, is harder to hit it up the top. So that might kind of make sense. Another change up. Anyway, I think I'm pretty much good. I may beat this side down here a little bit like the right side is. But I'm pretty happy with the way this thing's turned out. Anyway, if you liked the video, click like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.